The first sign something was wrong wasn't a feeling. It was the way people looked at me when I walked through the rooftop doors. Eyes flicked toward me, then toward Julian, then away again like they were trying not to get caught watching. I had barely stepped onto the terrace before a woman from his office smiled too tightly and said, "Harper, you made it," the way people do when they're bracing for impact. At the time, I didn't think much of it. I was late because our daughter had spilled juice on her dress and insisted on changing twice. I showed up flustered, hair pinned back quickly in the rideshare, makeup barely touched up. I expected Julian to take one look at me and tease me for being adorably chaotic, the way he always did in public. But he didn't. He didn't even see me. He was across the terrace, standing with Maya, my sister, in a dress she definitely didn't wear for me. She was angled slightly toward him, shoulders pulled in like she was trying to hide inside herself. Julian's hand rested on the railing beside her, caging her in without touching. His head was lowered, voice just low enough to force her to lean in to hear. And she did. She leaned in. My stomach didn't drop. My heart didn't race. I just stared, watching a moment unfold that didn't belong in my marriage. Someone brushed past me and muttered, "Oh," under their breath, like they were seeing something I wasn't supposed to see yet. I walked forward, not quietly, not sneaking, just crossing the distance like I belonged there, because I did. It was my anniversary dinner, my husband, my sister. I reached them just as Julian said it. "I still miss you." I shouldn't say it, but I do. He didn't whisper. He wasn't drunk. He said it with the kind of softness reserved for late-night confessions and intimacy. Maya went still. Julian didn't realize I was behind him until she lifted her eyes and saw me. Her breath hitched. Her shoulders dropped. Her face emptied out in a way that told me the entire story before she made a sound. Julian finally turned. Everything around us faded. The music, the chatter, the clinking glasses. People stopped talking, pretending to scroll their phones while blatantly listening. He blinked once, twice, then straightened his posture like he could snap the moment back into something manageable. "Harper," he said with a smile that didn't fit his face. "Hey, I was just—" "What do you miss, Julian?" He swallowed. Hard. "Are we doing this here?" he whispered. "You did it here." I gestured at the space around us. "On our anniversary. In front of half your company. So yes, here seems appropriate." Maya stepped toward me. "Harper, I swear it's not what you think." I turned to her slowly. "Then explain it." She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Just a quiet sound that wasn't an answer. Her hands shook against her thighs. I looked back at Julian. "Say it. Say you haven't crossed a line with my sister." The air tightened. People leaned closer. I felt it like heat on my skin. Julian exhaled sharply. "You're putting on a show, Harper." That line punched the air from my lungs. "A show?" I repeated. "You confessed something emotional to my sister and I'm performing? You're blowing this way out of proportion. Then answer me." My voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. "Why did you tell her you miss her?" His jaw tensed. His eyes darted to the crowd, to his co-workers, his friends, the people he desperately needed to see him as a respectable man. That's when he made the biggest mistake of the night. He reached for Maya. Not for me. He put his hand on her elbow like he was reassuring her, like she was the one who needed protection, like he was defending her from me. A slow, collective gasp rose from the people around us. Someone whispered, "Holy hell." I stared at his hand on her arm, then raised my eyes to him. "Take your hand off her." He did, immediately, but it didn't matter. Everyone had already seen it. Everyone had already drawn the line between them that I hadn't wanted to imagine. "Harper," he tried again, softer this time. "Let's talk privately. You're embarrassing yourself." And that was it. "You think I'm embarrassing myself?" The words came out calm, too calm. "You told my sister that you miss her, in public, at our anniversary dinner, with an audience, and I'm the one making a scene?" Maya whispered. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never wanted—" I cut her off. You didn't want this? Then why were you standing here leaning into him? Why were you letting him talk to you like that? She shook her head violently. I didn't let him. He started. Oh my God, someone near us murmured. She's admitting it. Julian stepped between us slightly, not fully blocking me but shielding her. Another mistake. Another knife. I felt the entire room watching us. The rooftop suddenly a stage, and me, the last person to realize the script had already been written without me. I looked at both of them, at the man I married and the sister I trusted, and felt something inside me harden into steel. I picked up my purse from the chair beside them. I'm done, I said. Not yelled, not cried. Said, like a verdict. Harper, don't walk away, Julian said. But I was already turning, already leaving the terrace, already hearing people whisper behind me. Did you see that? He admitted it. He said he misses her. I feel so bad for Harper. I pushed through the doors, stepped into the elevator, and didn't look back. The doors slid shut. That was the moment I decided. I wasn't going to let betrayal break me. I was going to burn everything he thought he controlled. When I left that rooftop, I didn't cry. Not on the elevator ride down, not during the drive home, not when I tucked my daughter into bed and she asked why Daddy wasn't coming to say goodnight. The tears didn't come, because the betrayal wasn't a single moment. It was the final crack in a wall that had been weakening for years. Looking back, the warning signs weren't subtle. They weren't even hidden. I just bent myself around them because that's what I'd been doing since the day I married Julian. I met him at 26, when I was still convinced compatibility was the same thing as chemistry. He had this calm, polished confidence, the kind that made people trust his version of events without asking follow-up questions. He used to call it leadership. I used to call it stability. Now I know it was control dressed up as charisma. I built our life while he built his career. He studied late at night. I handled the bills. He traveled for conferences. I made sure the house stayed running. He got promoted. I took a step back from my marketing job, just for a couple years, so we could raise our daughter without stressing about childcare. Those couple of years turned into 6. Every financial move we made was under his name because it just makes taxes easier. The mortgage, the car, the investments. I trusted him because that's what you do when you believe your marriage is a team. But teams don't work if one side is playing a different game. My sister Maya entered the picture 3 months ago when her long-term boyfriend ended things. She called me at midnight, crying so hard she couldn't breathe, and I didn't hesitate. I told her to pack a bag. I asked Julian the next morning and he agreed immediately, almost too quickly. At the time, I took it as kindness. Now I replay the little moments differently. The way he started checking on her when she didn't come home by 10. The way he asked if she ate, if she slept, if she needed anything. The way his eyes lingered on her during family dinners. The way he brought her a new coffee mug. Because she looked sad that morning, I shrugged all of it off because Maya was fragile and Julian loved to feel useful. I didn't see how easily that dynamic could twist itself into something else. 3 weeks before the rooftop dinner, I walked into the kitchen early one morning and found Julian pouring coffee for both of them. They stopped talking the second I entered. The silence was sharp, tense. But when I asked what was going on, they both said, "Nothing," in the exact same tone. I told myself I was being paranoid. That's what years of minimizing your own discomfort does. It teaches you to apologize for instincts that are trying to save you. But the real confirmation came the night after the rooftop disaster, when my daughter climbed into my bed while I was staring at the ceiling, replaying everything like a movie I didn't ask to watch. She whispered, "Mommy, remember when Daddy hugged Auntie Maya in his office?" I turned to her slowly. "When was that?" I woke up from my nap. They didn't see me. Daddy said, "You're safe with me." Auntie Maya was crying. My throat closed. Not because of what she said, but because of the innocence in her voice. She had no idea she was shattering the last piece of doubt I had left. That was the moment the stakes shifted. This wasn't just marital betrayal. This wasn't even about Maya. This was about my daughter growing up in a house where the man she adored crossed boundaries like they were optional. I realized then, I wasn't just confronting infidelity. I was protecting the life I'd spent a decade building. And the moment I understood what was truly on the line, I knew exactly how ruthless I was willing to become. The morning after the rooftop implosion, I woke up with a kind of clarity that didn't feel emotional. It felt operational. My body wasn't shaking, my voice wasn't stuck, my mind wasn't foggy. It was the opposite: cold, sharp, focused. Pain makes some women collapse. It makes others calculate. I slid out of bed quietly so I wouldn't wake my daughter. She was curled against me, the only part of my life still untouched by betrayal. I kissed her hair, whispered that I'd be right back, and walked into the kitchen with the same calm people mistake for strength. It wasn't strength, it was survival. The first thing I did was grab my laptop and log into our joint bank account. Julian always handled the money, not because I couldn't, but because he liked things organized and streamlined. I let him, trusting him the same way you trust a seatbelt. Never again. I clicked into the account settings and froze the debit cards tied to the shared checking. One button, one confirmation. The system sent him a notification immediately. I watched the little pop-up appear on my screen. Card access suspended. Good. Then I moved to the savings account. The bulk of our emergency fund was there, and legally I had every right to it. I transferred half into a new solo account I opened at 9 in the morning while our daughter watched cartoons. The banker didn't ask many questions. People rarely do when a woman looks like she's holding herself together by force. Next, I called the lawyer whose business card I kept tucked in a drawer, just in case. I never genuinely thought I'd need him. He remembered me immediately. "Harper? What's going on?" "I need to begin divorce proceedings," I said. My voice didn't waver. "And I need to know what steps I can legally take today." He didn't hesitate. He gave me a checklist. I was already ahead on half of it. By the time Julian texted, "We need to talk. Now," I was already in motion. I didn't reply. Instead, I packed 3 suitcases, mine and my daughter's, with enough clothes for a few weeks. Every zipper sounded like a decision. Every folded shirt was another boundary I should have set years ago. Maya's door was closed. I didn't knock. I didn't need to hear her apologies or explanations or excuses about being confused. I wasn't interested in her guilt or tears. Betrayal is quiet until it isn't, and she made her choices long before I caught them on the rooftop. I walked downstairs with the suitcases, put them by the door, and grabbed the small fireproof safe from the closet. Inside were my passport, my daughter's birth certificate, important documents, things Julian always dismissed as your sentimental organization habits. He should have known better than to underestimate the woman building the foundation beneath his perfectly curated life. While my daughter ate cereal at the table, I logged into our home security app. Weeks ago, Julian installed cameras in the common rooms for safety. He forgot they also stored audio. I scrolled through past recordings, listening, pausing, replaying, and then I found it. A clip from 2 weeks earlier. Maya crying softly in the kitchen. Julian telling her, "You're not alone. You know I care about you. More than I should." My stomach twisted, but not in heartbreak, in confirmation. I downloaded the file. I organized everything into folders. Financial evidence, audio evidence, text records, legal prep victim mode was officially dead. When Julian finally came home around noon, slamming the door like he had the right to be furious, I was standing in the living room with my daughter's backpack in my hand. "What the hell did you do to our accounts?" he demanded. "I protected myself," I said simply. "You can't just—" "I can," I said. And I did. He stared at me like he didn't recognize me. Good. I didn't recognize him anymore either. "We're leaving," I told him. "You're not taking our daughter—" "She's not staying in a house where you cross lines with my sister." His mouth opened, ready to argue, but I moved past him and walked toward the door, my daughter's small hand in mine. He followed me outside, disbelief all over his face. Harper, stop. You can't blow up our life over a misunderstanding. I didn't stop. I didn't look back. I wasn't blowing up our life. I was taking back the pieces he thought I'd never touch. The thing about men like Julian is that they're only powerful when everything around them stays predictable. The second I left with my daughter and froze the accounts, the predictability evaporated. And with it, so did his control. By the time I settled into the small short-term rental the lawyer recommended, month to month, no questions asked, Julian had already called me 11 times. The 12th call finally came with a voicemail, his voice clipped and shaky. Harper, this is insane. Call me back. We need to handle this like adults. Adults. The irony would have made me laugh if I wasn't holding my daughter's backpack while she picked which bed she wanted in our new temporary home. I spent that first afternoon organizing the evidence folders on my laptop, labeling each file like I was preparing for trial. Maybe I was. The lawyer told me to keep everything backed up twice, so I uploaded it all to a secure cloud and an external drive. It felt good, clean, methodical, empowering. The first ripple hit that evening. Julian's coworker Tessa messaged me. She wasn't a close friend, more like one of those people you tolerate at holiday parties. But her text was blunt. Are you okay? Something happened at the office. Julian showed up late and freaked out when his corporate card got declined. I stared at the message for a minute before replying, I'm fine. Thanks. She answered instantly. He's telling people it's a banking error. But people heard what he said at the rooftop. Word got around fast. Of course it did. A man whispering to his sister-in-law that he misses her in public doesn't stay contained in one room. Not in his social circle, not in his company, not in a world where gossip spreads faster than facts. But the next consequence wasn't about work. It was about Maya. Around 10 that night, my phone buzzed with a text from her. Please, can we talk? I'm losing it. I never meant to hurt you. Please. I didn't reply. I couldn't. Her pain wasn't my responsibility. She tried again. Julian told me about the accounts. He's screaming at me. I don't feel safe here. Please call me. I shut off my phone. I wasn't her lifeline anymore. She built her mess. She could sit in it. The next morning, the fallout grew bigger. My mother called, voice sharp with fury. What the hell happened between you three? Maya called me sobbing. Julian called saying everything is my daughter's fault. Someone needs to tell me the truth right now, I told her. Everything, every detail from the rooftop to the security clip. There was a long, blistering silence. Then, that girl is coming home with me, and Julian better hope he never runs into me in public. I believed her. My mother wasn't gentle when it came to betrayal, especially betrayal inside the family. She'd gut you with honesty and let you bleed out on the truth. While I dealt with that call, Julian was simultaneously dealing with the financial shockwave. At 9:47 a.m., he tried again. You moved money? Seriously? Half our savings? You can't do that without discussing it with me. I replied, legally I can. My lawyer confirmed it. No softness, no explanation, just a clean, precise hit. He exploded. A lawyer? Jesus, Harper, are you out of your mind? We're not getting divorced. We're having a rough week. That was the delusion talking. The same delusion that made him think he could whisper his feelings to my sister and somehow still come home to his intact life. I didn't bother replying. By lunchtime, he escalated. This time it wasn't anger. It was fear. I can't access my direct deposit. Did you close the checking account? I have bills due. I answered. Figure it out. I always did. Silence followed. A heavy, loaded silence that told me he finally understood something. I wasn't bluffing. I wasn't weak. I wasn't coming back. Later that afternoon, the lawyer called to say Julian had attempted to access the house while I was gone. The door had the same security system he installed, and the app notified me the second he entered. He texted, "Come home. We need to fix this. I'm begging you." I stared at the message for a long time before deleting it. He didn't want to fix the marriage. He wanted to fix the optics. The first consequences weren't about punishment. They were about disruption. His money, his reputation, his household, his sense of superiority, all cracked within 24 hours. And for the first time in 11 years, Julian Quinn realized exactly what life looked like without my silence holding it together. I should have known he wouldn't let things stay quiet. Men like Julian don't crumble privately. They perform desperation the way they once performed confidence. Loudly. Publicly. With an audience they think they can still control. The confrontation happened 3 days after I moved out. I agreed to meet 2 friends for brunch at a small cafe because I needed to feel normal for an hour. Just 1 hour where I wasn't sorting evidence, talking to lawyers, or ignoring Julian's meltdown texts. I had just set my purse on the table when I heard the door slam. Julian. He didn't walk in. He stormed in, scanning the cafe until he found me. The conversations around us dipped immediately. People recognized the tension before he even opened his mouth. "Harper," he said, voice loud enough to claim the room. "We're talking. Now." My friend stiffened. I stayed seated, calm. "Lower your voice." "No," he snapped. "I've been calling you for days. You're not doing this to me in public again." "You came here," I said. "You chose the performance." He dragged a chair from the next table and sat across from me like this was an intervention. His eyes were bloodshot, not from crying, but from panic and nights of not sleeping. "Good. You froze my accounts. You moved out. You sent your mother after Maya. You're destroying everything." "I didn't destroy anything," I said. "You did." His jaw clenched. "Nothing happened with your sister. Nothing physical. I was supporting her. She was a mess. You twisted it." I leaned in. "Supporting her doesn't require telling her you miss her." He flinched. The cafe went silent. Even the espresso machine paused like it wanted the front row seat. "I made a mistake," he said. "A stupid emotional mistake. I was being dramatic. I was stressed. You know how things have been for me at work." I laughed once. Sharp. "So your stress jumps to my sister now?" His face reddened. He hated being challenged, especially by me. Then the door opened again. Maya walked in. Her eyes were puffy, her hair unwashed, her whole body carrying the weight of someone who hadn't eaten or slept in days. When she saw Julian sitting across from me, she froze. Someone murmured, "Oh my God, is that the sister?" Maya rushed to the table. "Harper, please don't do this here." "Do what?" I asked. "Sit? Drink coffee?" She looked at Julian. "I told you not to come." "You weren't answering," he said. "So you both stalk me now?" I asked. Julian stood abruptly. "Can we go somewhere private? Please, I'm begging you." "You should have begged before whispering to my sister on a rooftop," I said. A few people gasped. Phones lifted. Subtle, but unmistakable. Julian reached for my hand across the table. I moved it away before he could touch me. He exhaled shakily. "You're blowing up our entire life." I tilted my head. "Our life or your image?" He swallowed hard. He knew the answer. Maya suddenly dropped to the emotional floor, tears spilling over. "Harper, I swear I never meant for anything to happen. He was there, and I was alone, and I was stupid, and I'm so sorry." Julian hissed, "Stop talking." People listened harder. Maya sobbed louder. "I didn't know how to stop him." "Stop," Julian snapped, grabbing her arm. That was it. I stood up slowly, the chair scraping the tile. The sound cut through the room like a blade. "Don't grab her," I said. "You don't get to touch her. Not anymore. Not after this." He dropped her arm instantly, eyes darting around, realizing everyone had witnessed the dynamic he'd tried to hide. I looked between them, the broken sister, the unraveling husband, and said the line that would be quoted for weeks. "You didn't just betray me. You betrayed your family, and the world gets to watch you lose everything you thought you owned." The cafe went dead silent. Julian's face collapsed. Maya sobbed harder. I grabbed my purse, turned, and walked out. This time, I didn't just leave the room. I left the entire version of him he tried to force me to stay blind to. Julian didn't disappear after the cafe disaster. He pivoted. When men like him start losing privately, they scramble to win publicly. And the first rule of their survival is always the same: rewrite the narrative before the truth spreads too far. The shift happened fast. 2 days after the confrontation, a mutual friend sent me a screenshot from a group chat I wasn't in anymore. Julian says he's worried about Harper, says she's having an emotional breakdown, says she misinterpreted something innocent. Innocent. He really believed that word could save him. Within hours, I found out he'd contacted several of my friends directly, trying to paint himself as the calm, rational husband who was just trying to hold his family together while his unstable wife spiraled. He didn't know half those friends had already heard the rooftop recording from someone else. He underestimated how quickly betrayal spreads when you commit it inside a family. The PR war started with him trying to control the whispers. It escalated when he took it online. He posted a long, dramatic status update on Facebook, the kind only men desperate for validation write. Sometimes relationships hit rough patches. Sometimes people assume the worst. All I want is my family back. He tagged no one, but everyone knew who he meant. He portrayed himself as a wounded husband just fighting for his marriage. Comments poured in from people who didn't know the truth. Stay strong. Marriage takes work. Don't give up on love. So sorry you're going through this. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Because while Julian was manufacturing sympathy, the truth was preparing to explode without my help. The first hit came from someone unexpected. One of Julian's junior co-workers, a quiet guy named Mateo. He'd been at the rooftop dinner. He'd seen everything. He posted a vague but scathing message on his Instagram story. Wild how some men pretend to be victims after whispering to their sister-in-law that they miss her on their own anniversary. He didn't name Julian. He didn't need to. People connected the dots instantly. Then someone else shared it. Then another. Then the clip started circulating. Someone at the dinner had recorded the moment he told Maya he missed her. Not the whole conversation. Just that line. 5 seconds. 5 seconds that detonated his entire campaign. The audio leaked into a neighborhood Facebook group, then a local gossip page, then a private community thread connected to his company. From there, it hit the place he feared most. His office Slack. Within 12 hours of the leak, I started receiving messages from people I hadn't spoken to in years. Harper, is this real? I'm so sorry you're going through this. He tried to tell us you were overreacting. And the best one, he's been placed on leave. I didn't celebrate. Not yet. Because I knew Julian, and if he was cornered financially and socially, the next logical step was media. Not public media, but the digital kind. Curated stories, selective screenshots, emotional fishing lines designed to bait people into backing him. He posted again. This time it was darker. It's painful when someone you love destroys your reputation with lies. Lies. That word lit something inside me I hadn't felt before. Not rage, but precision. If he wanted a PR war, fine. But I would never play dirty. I didn't need to. I played strategic. At noon, I sent one file, just one, to a friend I trusted who happened to run a women's community chat with over 800 local members. The clip from the security audio. The one from the kitchen. Julian saying, "You know I care about you, more than I should." I didn't add commentary. I didn't tell anyone to share it. I didn't say his name. The file did all the talking. By evening, Julian's narrative was dead. His Facebook post was flooded with comments calling him out. His coworkers unfollowed him. Maya went offline completely. Even his brother texted me privately, "I'm done defending him. Whatever you decide, I'm on your side." The backlash didn't trend globally. This wasn't that kind of story. But inside our city, inside our circles, inside his career, Julian Quinn was finished. He wanted to win the public narrative. Instead, the public wrote it without him. And for the first time since the rooftop, I slept through the night without waking up to check my phone, because the truth wasn't hidden anymore. It was viral. The real unraveling didn't happen when the audio leaked. That was just the spark. The explosion came when the legal and financial machinery finally kicked in. Slow at first, then all at once, swallowing Julian whole. 2 days after the PR collapse, I walked into my lawyer's office with a folder of evidence so neatly labeled it looked like I'd been preparing for years. He skimmed through each file: the rooftop clip, the kitchen audio, the bank statements, the texts, and nodded with the satisfaction of a man who knew this case would be easy. "Harper," he said, closing the folder, "this is a nuclear-grade file. You're going to get everything you want." I didn't smile. I didn't gloat. I just nodded. Because wanting revenge and executing it are two very different things. And I was already past wanting. The first legal blow landed that same afternoon: an emergency petition for temporary custody. Straightforward, airtight, impossible for Julian to contest considering the evidence of emotional misconduct around Maya. The court granted it within hours. When Julian received the notification, he blew up my phone with messages alternating between threats and begging. "You can't do this. We're still married. You're overreacting. Please don't take her from me. I'm sorry. I'm losing everything. Why are you doing this?" I didn't answer a single one. My lawyer told me not to. And honestly, I didn't have a damn thing left to say. The next domino fell at his job. He'd been put on leave after the leak, but now HR escalated the investigation. Someone had filed an anonymous complaint. I had a guess who, but it didn't matter. The complaint accused him of boundary violations with a family member in a professional setting and creating an environment of emotional impropriety. HR had no choice but to treat it seriously. They called me for a statement. I gave them exactly what they asked for. Nothing more, nothing less. Facts, dates, audio, timeline. No interpretation, no embellishment, just truth. They thanked me. Julian was suspended without pay. And that was when he finally understood he wasn't surviving this with charm or apologies. But the fallout didn't stop with him. Maya took her turn too. My mother dragged her out of our townhouse after hearing the full truth. Their argument was so loud the neighbors called me later to ask if everything was okay. "Your sister is devastated," one said. "Your mom looked like she was ready to commit murder." Maya moved back into my mother's house temporarily, but it didn't last. My mother enforced rules, therapy, boundaries, consequences, and Maya wasn't used to being held accountable. Within a week, she left, claiming she needed space to figure things out. Last I heard, she was staying with a distant cousin who didn't know the full story. She tried texting me twice. "I'm sorry. I'm falling apart. Please answer. I don't know who I am anymore." I didn't reply. I wasn't cruel. But I had nothing left to give her. Her pain wasn't my responsibility. Meanwhile, Julian's family turned on him one by one. His father, the man who spent years bragging about Julian's career, showed up at the rental where I was staying. He asked if he could talk as a father, not as an ally to either side. I let him. He sat across from me at the kitchen table and sighed so deeply it shook his whole frame. "I warned him," he said. "Told him he was crossing lines. Told him to stop." He rubbed his face with both hands. "Harper, I'm ashamed of him. Truly." I didn't respond. "What do you say when someone apologizes for a man who shattered your home?" Then he added quietly, "I'll support whatever decision you make. Financially, legally, whatever you need." That surprised me. But the truth is, betrayal inside the family doesn't just destroy a marriage. It fractures lineage. It breaks generational trust. And parents, even proud ones, cannot stomach that level of stupidity. Julian's brother called next. He'd always been cold, distant, self-centered, but even he couldn't defend this. "You were right to leave," he said. "He needs to lose everything before he understands anything." The legal process accelerated. Our shared assets needed evaluation. My lawyer handled all communication. I refused to speak directly to Julian. He tried repeatedly to push back. Harper, you can't take half. I earned that money. You weren't even working. How is this fair? We can fix us if you just stop the lawyers, please. Please don't do this. He still didn't understand. This wasn't emotional anymore. This wasn't a fight. This wasn't even revenge. This was consequence. Natural, earned, inevitable consequence. The mortgage was placed under review. The car title was temporarily frozen. His retirement account was assessed. Our joint investments were divided. His direct deposit had nowhere to land because I closed the shared checking. He was financially suffocating. At the same time, the court scheduled the custody hearing. The judge reviewed the evidence privately and immediately set the tone. Temporary full custody to me, supervised visitation for him until further notice, mandatory therapy for all parties involved, no contact between Maya and my daughter. Julian looked like he'd been punched. His voice cracked in the courtroom. He kept whispering, "Please, please don't take her," as if begging could erase a chain of decisions he forged himself. But the judge wasn't moved. No one was. Because by then, the truth wasn't up for debate. Julian Quinn wasn't a misunderstood husband. He wasn't a victim of rumors. He wasn't even a liar trying to save face. He was a man who had finally met the full weight of his choices. And I, the woman he underestimated for 11 years, was the one dropping every stone of consequence exactly where it belonged. The final confrontation didn't happen in a courtroom or in front of an audience. It didn't happen at a cafe with witnesses or in the chaos of a rooftop dinner. It happened in a place so painfully ordinary it almost felt unreal. The parking lot behind the County Family Services building. After a mandated mediation session Julian refused to accept was already dead on arrival. The mediation itself was quiet. Too quiet. Julian barely looked at me, speaking in clipped sentences while the mediator tried to drag civility out of a man who'd run out of excuses. I kept my responses simple and clean. Facts only. No emotion, no rage. Just the truth delivered with the steadiness he never expected me to develop. When it ended, the mediator shook my hand, told me I'd handled myself with dignity and clarity, and left through the side door. I gathered my folder of documents, slid my pen into my bag, and walked out into the warm afternoon air. Julian was waiting. He leaned against his car, shoulders hunched, suit jacket wrinkled, tie pulled loose like he'd been fighting with it for hours. He looked smaller than I'd ever seen him, not physically, spiritually. There was no shine left, no composure, no performance. Just a man who'd finally realized he wasn't going to talk his way out of the crater he'd created. "Harper," he said as I approached. His voice cracked on my name. I didn't slow down. I intended to walk straight to my car, drive home, and let the legal system finish the rest of the dismantling. But he stepped in front of me, blocking my path. "Please," he whispered. "Just give me 5 minutes." I stopped, not because he asked, because I wanted this done. Clean, final, without loose ends. 5 minutes, I said. He exhaled in relief, like my agreement was oxygen. "Thank you." But he didn't start with an apology. Of course he didn't. He started with nostalgia. "Do you remember our first apartment?" he asked. "The one with the tiny kitchen and the horrible carpet? You used to sit on the counter while I cooked. You'd steal bites of food and pretend it tasted terrible just to annoy me." I stared at him. "You're not talking about the past to fix it. You're talking about it because it's all you have left." He closed his eyes, pain tightening his expression. "I messed up. I know I did. But it wasn't an affair, Harper. It was a betrayal," I cut in. "You don't have to sleep with someone to betray your family. You crossed a line, emotionally, physically, socially, morally. Pick one. You crossed them all." He swallowed hard. "I didn't mean to hurt you." I stepped closer, my voice low and controlled. "You didn't mean to get caught. That's different." He flinched. Then he let out a shaky breath, his voice trembling. "I lost my job, Harper. HR terminated me this morning. They said it was conduct-related. Said the audio made them question my judgment. I've never been unemployed in my life. He looked at me with a rawness I'd never seen on him. I've lost everything, he said. My career, my reputation, my family. I can't sleep, I can't eat, I can't think. All I do is replay everything in my head, the rooftop, the cafe, your face that night. I wake up from nightmares of you walking away. I felt nothing, not satisfaction, not pity, just clarity. He stepped closer. I loved you. I still love you. And I know you think I'm lying, but I wasn't trying to replace you with Maya. I was trying to feel important. She was vulnerable. I was stressed, and I let myself become someone I don't even recognize. That's the problem, I said softly. You recognized him. You just liked him. His jaw tightened, and he looked away, embarrassed. I'm begging you, he whispered. Tell me what to do. Tell me how to make this right. Therapy, counseling, humiliation, I don't care. I'll do anything. Just don't end us. There is no us, Julian, I said. There hasn't been for a long time. I just didn't see it. His breathing faltered. Then tell me why you're doing this. Why this level of punishment? Why take everything? I stepped closer, so close he had to meet my eyes. I didn't take everything. You threw everything away. You handed it off piece by piece because you wanted to feel desired by someone you had no right to seek validation from. He looked like he'd been struck. I made one mistake, he whispered desperately. It wasn't one mistake, I said. It was a pattern, 1,000 small choices. Whispering to her, touching her, lying to me, protecting her, making me the villain in your rewritten story, telling the world I was unstable. You didn't make one mistake. You made a roadmap. He stared at me, eyes watering now, voice barely a breath. I'm sorry. For what? I asked. He exhaled, defeated. For all of it. I nodded once. Then here's your closure, Julian. He straightened, like preparing for a verdict. I looked him dead in the eyes. You lost me the moment you told my sister you missed her. Silence. Hard, brutal, irreversible silence. I stepped past him. He didn't stop me this time. He didn't call out. He didn't chase me. He just stood there, alone in the parking lot, watching the woman he thought would never walk away finally do exactly that. And as I opened my car door, I gave him the last truth he would ever hear from me. Missing her cost you your family. Then I drove away without looking in the rearview mirror, because the past was behind me, and I had no intention of ever backing up into it again. 6 months later, the version of my life I'm living now feels almost unrecognizable compared to the one I walked away from. Not because everything magically got better, but because I finally stopped trying to rebuild a home made of cracked foundations and borrowed excuses. I built something new instead, something that actually felt like mine. My daughter and I moved into a small 2-bedroom bungalow near a park. Nothing extravagant, nothing staged for anyone's approval. Just sunlight through wide windows, a kitchen with imperfect cabinets that creak, and a backyard where she can chase butterflies after school. It's peaceful in a way that feels earned. I went back to work too. Not the old version of work, where I let myself shrink to make space for Julian's career. I restarted my marketing consulting on my own terms. Small clients at first, then bigger ones as word spread. Turns out stepping out of someone else's shadow makes your skills a lot easier to see. My income isn't tied to anyone's moods, ambitions, or manipulations anymore. Every dollar that enters my account arrives without guilt attached. Therapy helped more than I want to admit. Not because I was broken, but because I needed to understand why I kept choosing silence over self, why I protected Julian's comfort over my own truth, why I spent a decade rationalizing behavior that deserved confrontation. Healing wasn't pretty, but it was honest. As for my daughter, she's thriving, happier, lighter. She doesn't flinch when the doorbell rings anymore. She doesn't ask why Daddy hugs Auntie Maya in the mornings. She doesn't sense tension simmering under dinner conversations. She just lives. And I didn't realize how heavy our old home felt until she started laughing more freely in this one. And Julian? His downfall wasn't a spectacle. Not anymore. It turned into a slow, quiet unraveling. After he was terminated, his savings evaporated faster than pride could replenish. His father stopped enabling him. His brother stopped returning calls. The people who once praised him for being driven now avoided him because they didn't want to be associated with the scandal. He ended up renting a small apartment on the outskirts of town, a place with mismatched furniture, a leaky faucet, and walls thin enough for him to hear his neighbors argue, a far cry from the curated life he showcased. Maya didn't stay by his side. Their dynamic collapsed almost immediately. Guilt, shame, and the weight of being the reason for her sister's divorce crushed whatever fantasy she thought she'd stepped into. She drifted away quietly, swallowed by consequences she never imagined would follow her. Sometimes she texts me. Small things. Short apologies. Long silences between them. I don't reply. Forgiveness doesn't always require communication. And Julian? He asked to meet again after the divorce was finalized. Not to fight, to apologize. A real apology this time, stripped of excuses, stripped of ego. I listened. Then I walked away again. Not with anger, not with triumph, with closure. Because the truth is, revenge wasn't the transformation. The transformation was realizing I never needed him. I just needed the courage to choose myself. Now when I wake up, the air feels different. Not lighter, freer. I make coffee without rushing. I take walks without checking my phone for his approval. I laugh with my daughter without performing happiness for anyone else. And sometimes, when the house is quiet and the world feels still, I remind myself of the one truth that carried me through every step of this journey. I didn't just survive betrayal. I reclaimed my life from it. And I am never giving it back.